Again, they think they have Trump under their thumb.
Do we know any more about the efforts at the home of Bill Ackman in East Hampton, Long Island, New York, to dissuade Charlie Kirk from his rejection of the Zionist ideology?
Well, if I'd been an advisor to Pezeshkian, I would have told him to go before the UN and declare that Americans oppose war with Iran, including Charlie Kirk, who lobbied against it in the White House. Like, that would have really made waves. I reported that at the Gray Zone, and Vice President J.D. Vance came out on Charlie Kirk's show, sitting in his empty host chair, and corroborated what I said. And then I followed up by reporting on this secret influencer meeting where Charlie Kirk was screamed at by a Zionist fanatic influencer named Natasha Hausdorff, who heads a group called Lawyers for Israel, UK Lawyers for Israel. Their job is basically to get everyone who protests Israel's genocide jailed. They've been behind the efforts to jail the Irish band Kneecap for condemning Israel from the stage. And so Charlie Kirk was facing all of these fanatical figures at a time when his own conservative grassroots is against the war with Iran. When he was against it, was against Israeli malign influence in the United States. And since I reported on that meeting, we've been learning so much about Israel's influence operations in the United States through, for example, the meeting Benjamin Netanyahu held with young influencers who all appear to be on his payroll in one way or another outside the UN. I just debated one of them on Piers Morgan, if you want to call it a debate. And it was pretty bonkers. I don't know. Hitler had influencers too, but Leni Riefenstahl had talent. Like, I can't believe some of the people that Netanyahu is recruiting. It's like this short bus of right-wing racists. And they, this influencer, Deborah Leah, asked Netanyahu, what do we do to stop Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson from influencing all of these conservatives to oppose Israel's designs across the region and in the US? And he called them the woke Reich. So he called American personalities Nazis. And then he said, we need to basically buy TikTok, which is what is currently taking place with Larry Ellison, the Friends of the IDF donor, an Oracle billionaire who's a friend of Netanyahu, who's buying TikTok with Andreessen Horowitz. Horowitz being Ben Horowitz, the son of the anti-Palestinian agitator David Horowitz. Netanyahu basically saying they're buying it for Israel. Then they're buying Paramount. Ellison and his son are buying Paramount, putting out an October 7th propaganda film on HBO Max this October 7th. And then they're installing Barry Weiss, the voice of the Zionist 0.1%, as editor of CBS News, according to reports. So this is the agenda that was reflected at the Hampton secret influencer retreat that I exposed. And it's what's making Netanyahu nervous, and why he's doing this is he's losing the last bastion of pro-Israel support in the US among the conservative grassroots. And let me close this window so I can get better sound here. We're back.
All right. Chris has this woman that you're talking about asking a question of Netanyahu. Watch this.
So something I would like to raise, which was actually my first published paper, was how you and the Likud party are cut from the same ideological cloth as Trump and the GOP in America. And so specifically with Charlie Kirk's assassination, who was a big mentor of mine, who's my first mentor in the space, evangelicals, from all my research, evangelicals are the reason that Israel has been supported in public sphere outside of just Jews. So with Charlie's assassination and with the kind of trajectory that we see with like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, I guess I'm curious about what's another game plan if we lose evangelical support for the state of Israel. What's our backup plan to be strong, like outside of the diaspora?
Is this woman who calls herself a Jewish American princess, is she a Christian evangelical?
No, I think she's Jewish. Her last name is actually Schwartzbin, which isn't exactly a Gentile name, but she just goes by Deborah Leah because that's more influencery. And, she went on the requisite propaganda tour to Israel, denied the existence of a Palestinian state, in my interview, my engagement with her, she came in pretty hot and accused me of being funded by Iran, which would be a violation of U.S. sanctions law, and would be also, it's highly ironic that she would make that accusation, because it's not as though she's well known for anything. No one had ever heard of her before, and she's essentially a creation of Netanyahu and Israel's billionaire cutouts in the United States as they seek to take over social media to prevent young people from continuing to rebel against this genocide that Netanyahu has unleashed in Gaza. And he's obviously failing, but she's part of a coterie of influencers who are all sort of anti-woke, conservative, and it's all because of Netanyahu's problems with the conservative grassroots, where according to every single poll of young Americans' attitudes, Republicans under 35 now oppose Israel, are done with it for the most part. This is even happening in evangelical communities. It's even happening to some extent within Mormon communities. And it really comes down to two simple things. The scene that we just saw there, where Netanyahu calls to buy U.S. media for a foreign country. America firsters don't like that, and they don't respect Israel firsters within their ranks. And number two, some of them are actually consistently pro-life and don't like waking up to social media showing them other people's children being shredded every day because they're designated as demographic threats to the ethno-supremacist, exclusively Jewish state. And that problem ain't going away.
Here's another clip of influencers hired by Netanyahu.
Imagine supporting people who start wars just to lose the wars so they can cry about it and then try it all again.
You must-see anti-Semites are literally obsessed with Jews. Now walk with me. While you must-see anti-Semites are stacking eviction notices, Jews are out here stacking up businesses.
Jews control all the industries. Maybe if you spent more time taking notes from successful people, you wouldn't have to spend your nights and weekends spreading hate from your anonymous account with an anime profile picture.
Do you work as hard as Jews? Do you network like Jews? No, because you're too busy cheering on a group of musty terrorists who smell like dirty earring backs. And if we're gonna keep it real, you're really mad because your income is giving side hustle.
Period.
How you gonna hate from outside Shabbat? You can't even get in.
Yeah. Is that convincing?
No, of course not. It's absurd.
It's obscene, and they're literally rubbing it in the faces of Gentiles who refuse to bow down to the Israeli order. This is a video I found on TikTok, actually, and I tweeted it out. And I saw a lot of pretty prominent conservatives who I wouldn't describe as Israel critics actually express disgust, including Tim Pool, who met privately with Netanyahu at the Blair House during his last trip to DC. So it's not working. That's I forget the name of the woman who appears in that, but she was a sort of budding sports journalist who is represented by the Hollywood agent Casey Wasserman, who is actually one of the top Zionist fundraisers for Joe Biden and for the Democrats, which is ironic because she's being marketed as a conservative influencer. And Xavier DuRousseau, who is one of the figures who went to the secret Hamptons Influencer Summit with Bill Ackman. And every time I tried to ask him about it, he'd tell me he has to go to 3 weddings in Italy, or he was wine drunk. A really absurd character who was flown on the Israeli government's dime, reportedly, to go into the Gaza frontier to a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation site and mock starvation in Gaza. He actually said that Hamas leaders are eating all the ramen, and that's why they're on Ozempic. Again, I don't know how that convinces anyone. It sort of might amuse the death cult that supports what's happening in Gaza, but I don't think it convinces anyone else. And this is a lot of money. I mean, the Israeli Foreign Ministry's ponied up for this year $150 million. And they're not just paying conservatives. It looks like CNN's Van Jones, who comes from the left, is in their back pocket as well. They're getting everyone on board for the last final battle on the 8th front of Netanyahu's global war, which is the battle for the American mind.
He must know that he is hemorrhaging support in the United States. Have you personally and the Gray Zone received backlash because of your coverage of the efforts by Ackman and company to intimidate Kirk before he died?
Well, we could, and I don't know what could take place. What wound up happening was that my reporting some of it was amplified or echoed by Candace Owens, who was Charlie Kirk's comms director. She was part of this whole network and was flown to Jerusalem when the U.S. embassy was moved by Sheldon Adelson on a private jet, I think with Charlie Kirk. And then she turned against them in a very strong way and has much more influence and cachet on the right and within Trump world than I do. And her live streams about Charlie Kirk's killings, I mean, if you watch one of them, they're getting more engagement than pretty much anyone, especially anyone pro-Israel like Ben Shapiro, who's an astroturfed creation. So they went after her and really have put a target on her back. And it was a complete meltdown that ensued for a week after the Bill Ackman Hamptons Influencer Summit. But they focused on her because she's sort of, I would say, a greater threat to their narrative. And at the same time, they are obviously threatened by any real reporting that takes place around this. And there's more to come. There's a lot more to come. And we should look at the precedent that they've set in the Gaza Strip, where in advance of the reoccupation of Gaza City, the Israeli army assassinated the last remaining well-known, internationally known journalists, especially Anas Sharif, but they also assassinated the Reuters correspondent in a hospital in Khan Yunis. Then in a double tap strike, they assassinated the Associated Press photographer, Mariam Daga. That's what they're doing to journalists there. And as they continue to lose and fail on the world stage, I believe they will escalate their operations against investigative journalists who threaten their objectives.